Do you have a nest egg? A nest egg is a sufficient amount of money that you first earn, then save. I started the foundation of my nest egg when I was about 6 years old, and I joined a modeling agency in New York City. My mom would take me out of school for 2 hours at a time to do a photo shoot. I modeled for about 4 years, and my parents deposited all of my earnings into a bank account and left it there until the beginning of this year, when I decided that I wanted to invest some of my money. I did a lot of research about the best stocks, terms, strategy, software, markets, and how it all works. While I was learning about investing, I came to the realization that the way people are saving needs to change. If and when you have a nest egg, what would you do with it? Would you put it in a piggy bank or under the mattress? Would you put it away in a conservative bank account? Or would you put the money into a risky investment account or an asset that gains value over time? It turns out that the way people have managed their money has changed over the years, and it needs to change even more for my generation. While I was teaching myself about finances, I learned why it is so important for my generation to make money early by starting a nest egg, start actively saving their money, and perhaps most importantly, educate ourselves about finances in order to set ourselves up for future financial success. Nowadays, most people need more than one income to support themselves. A job alone is not enough. During the beginning of COVID-19, many people lost their only job, which was their one source of income. They've since relied on whatever money they can gather to help pay their expenses and the insufficient stimulus checks that only came 3 times in America. Nobody was safe during the pandemic, especially from the employment crisis. People from all across the globe, young and old, from all walks of life, suddenly found themselves wondering how they'd make ends meet. Even a rabbi from California, Zach Kamenetz, felt the effects of unemployment when his synagogue announced cutbacks last April that included his role. If a man of faith isn't safe, then who is? Like those who are in dire financial situations, I realized how dangerous it is to have one income and no savings. Let me explain the savings and working patterns of the generations of my grandfather and father. The generation before baby boomers is called the silent generation. It started in 1928 and is the generation that my grandfather is in. The people in that generation were born in, and some grew up in, a world of economic crisis and war. Despite the hardships of their parents, teenagers in the silent generation didn't have jobs, but were able to recover quickly and end up economically sound. My dad, who is in Gen X, started saving towards the end of high school. He said that it was necessary to help him with college expenses so that he could learn what it means to save for the future. The importance of saving early became a family tradition, but my family is not necessarily representative of saving patterns across generations. Some of the problems that my generation, Gen Z, will be facing have been seen before by millennials and Gen X, the 2 generations before Gen Z. Social class inequality, also known as the pay gap, is a big problem that millennials and Gen X face right now, and Gen Z will be facing very soon. Socioeconomic inequality is the difference of wealth and opportunities among the classes. From baby boomers to Gen X, the wealth inequality drop was small and proportional to the drops between other generations. The drop from Gen X to millennials, on the other hand, was disproportionate. The difference in wealth between upper and lower classes is so large that wealthy millennials own much more wealth and opportunities than poor millennials. This chart shows the pay gap between the top 0.1% of people compared to the bottom 90% of the population. As you can see, we have climbed past the levels of income inequality in the Gilded Age, a time period when factory workers had no rights, no minimum wage, children worked in mines, and high-level executives and politicians were corrupt. Another problem that millennials have is productivity and compensation of blue-collar workers. From 1979 to 2018, productivity rose 69.6%, meaning that the output of goods and labor increased due to improved technology and increased worker efficiency. Pay, however, for those workers only rose 11.6%. These two values should rise together at the same rate. When they separate like they are now, more money goes to executives who do the same work they've done for years, rather than the workers who increase their productivity. Both of these problems could continue into my generation and are likely to be worse. Gen Z needs to prepare and prevent what happened to millennials from happening to us. If we seek multiple income sources and actively save now, everyone will be well versed in financial security, and we will be much closer to generation-wide financial stability. Many people think that the whole millennial generation is bad with money, but they started saving at an earlier age than the generations before them. Despite starting to save earlier, they have much more debt, and their money has less influence than it had for any other generation. Millennials might not have more money, but it is not their fault. They've been dealing with student loan debt when college tuition on average rose 37% from 2008 to 2018, and minimum wage has dropped significantly below inflation lines. All signs suggest that for my generation, it will be worse. The rich will continue to get richer, and the poor will stay poor. Those of us who are not in the top 1% of American wealth need to start using the tools available to us, the tools that the ultra-wealthy have used for years, but nobody else knew about. It is one of the only ways that we as regular people, rather than the extremely wealthy, will combat this problem. I urge everyone my age to prepare for a worse future economy, because as is true with all of life, economic struggles come quickly and without much warning. From what I learned, the best tips I can give is to start 3 different bank accounts. A basic, risk-free savings account with an amount of money that can support you for a few months without income. The second account is a tax-free retirement account that can only be accessed after the age of 65 and builds on itself over time since it is opened. The third account is an investment account that you can actively manage or leave dormant for years. Another great way to take control of your financial future is with side hustles, which have been gaining popularity. My friend and I have a side hustle of power washing driveways. We found a power washer on Facebook Marketplace for free, replaced the carburetor, and now we use it to make money on the weekends. Side hustles can be anything that you want and should just be a supplement to your main income. Finally, a good starting point to begin your economic growth is learning about personal finance. I believe that personal finance should be a high school graduation requirement. It could go a long way in helping many of my generation avoid or lessen financial difficulties over their lifetime. In addition to learning on our own through YouTube, books, friends, and any way that we can, finances have become a big part of our lives and should be taught in school. With information of this importance, education about personal finance can save people from a world of debt and significant financial problems. The more that we invest in ourselves in the form of education and experience, the better returns on ourselves we will have. I am in no way a financial advisor, but through hours of research and first-hand experience, I've realized that many in my generation will have trouble financially supporting themselves if we do not start now. So, take advantage of what's available to us through the internet and start building your nest egg. Thank you.